Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: gunshot survivors of Reddit. What does it feel like to get shot? Right thigh, 9mm, grazing shot across the front of the leg about 4 inches above the knee. It plowed a channel of skin and some flesh off the front. It felt searing hot, like someone had laid a hot piece of metal on my leg for a second. Then, the pain went away for a while until the adrenaline wore off. It honestly hurt worse 6 hours later than it did when it happened. Wild. This is the exact description of the first gunshot wound I ever saw on an empty ride-along. It wasn't caused by a dumbass at a shooting range who turned his gun sideways to look at it with his finger on the trigger and shot the guy in the next lane, was it? I was shot in the leg. It felt like a hard flick of a finger, then numbness. I didn't think I was shot until I saw the hole in my pants. Even then I thought maybe a rock hit me or something. No pain or blood until I started walking, then came a gush of blood and then my entire body went limp. People saw what happened, so I had help right away. After that it hurt, but somewhere around a 6 to 7 on a scale of 10. Another time I was hit by a fragment from a ricochet on my forehead. Same feeling of being flicked with a finger. The area around the wound went white and there was no blood. The pain level was around a 5. Neither time was bad, but I don't want to try my luck again. Why do people keep shooting at you, bro? Look at his name. I was randomly shot while walking down the street with my girlfriend in 2013. I didn't fall to the ground or anything like that. Walked into a store and told them to call the cops. It didn't hurt too bad at first. A slight pinch. The heat builds up and the pain comes in. Some throbbing as the blood pumps out. I was extremely lucky as the bullet lodged between my lower right ribs in the back just above my kidney. The aftermath was a really achy back. What I remember most was how everyone around me except for my girlfriend just walked around us like nothing happened. I was suffering and potentially dying and everyone just ignored it. Not my problem, I suppose. I lost a lot of faith in people that day. Where? Buffalo, NY. I was hit twice during separate tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The first time the round caught the armor plate and felt like I had been hit with a baseball bat. It knocked the wind out of me, and when we got back to base I had a huge bruise on my chest. It hurt to breathe for a few days and getting dressed was a mfur, but I got light duty during that time. The second time around clipped the side of my neck. Now that one really hurt and there was a lot of blood. Think of your worst razor kick x10, but the pain was cut by the adrenaline. Edit, since some people have asked. #1 It was probably a 7.62x39 round AK, an AK bullet. You could sneeze and find an AK over there. #2 Body armor is made to stop bullets not absorb or shed a bullet's kinetic energy. In simpler terms, not vibranium. #3 I did receive a Purple Heart for the second hit, not the first. As Gunny put it, you want a medal for a little ouchie. That may not be verbatim, but it was close to 20 years ago. The fucking luck you had, dude. Shit. Glad it wasn't worse, even as bad as it was. Luck. He got 2 shots in 2 wars. 2 of 2. I got shot in the ankle when I was 10. Honestly, I thought a rock hit me. Just a slight stinging feeling. Didn't really hurt, I even kept running with my bike. Later at the hospital was a different story. The doctor tried to remove the bullet without putting me under. He said the pain medicine would make me forget everything. He gave up after a few minutes of hell. And, whatever he gave me didn't work as described, but it did oddly make everyone look purple from what I remember. So maybe it half worked. Lol. Probably ketamine. We give to kids because we don't want to put to sleep because pain is temporary and dead babies are forever. Just didn't give you enough to disassociate. I'm getting pain is temporary, dead babies are forever as a bumper sticker. A trip to the ER is how we found out my daughter was allergic to ketamine. My daughter broke her arm and they gave her ketamine to set it. She said a few funny things and then started to break out in hives, pretty quickly. Luckily it never got worse than just the hives. After an hour or so the hives subsided and all her vitals remained good, but the ER doctor said the next time she gets ketamine in her system it could be much worse. You're a redhead, Harry. But seriously, check if you're a redhead, your tolerance levels are different. You might be a secret one like Ashkenazi. Can confirm. Never been shot, but I am a redhead and broke both bones in my arm when I was younger. I was given something that was supposed to make me completely pass out. It pretty much put me in a weird sleep paralysis state where I couldn't move or wake up, but I could feel everything, and I remember just being in a pain darkness while I just screamed as he bent my arm back in place. I was shot with a .22 in the back. The initial shot hit my vertebrae and paralyzed me from the waist down. I literally just stiff-legged and fell backwards. I then felt a hot wave run down my back and to my butt. Then the seating pain set in. It was excruciating and literally screamed and swore the whole time. When someone asks the level of pain I was in, I tell them to think of the worst pain they've experienced and times that by 100. The pain and realizatio that I couldn't move my legs was just heartbreaking, and I just wanted out. 3 years later and lots of intense physical therapy, I have gained a lot of movement and function back. I can walk with the aid of AFOs and crutches, but still need a wheelchair at home and for long distances. Edit, to those asking why or how I was shot. I was on private property shooting with friends. We stopped shooting and I went down range to change something. My friend decided that was the time to try and unload his .22 revolver, and as he pointed it down range he somehow pulled the trigger and shot me. I don't know what possessed him to do that, as even if the gun was loaded nothing would happen if you don't touch the gun, but he did. Being in the middle of nowhere, it took about a half hour for an ambulance to come, then a life flight to the nearest hospital. I'm lucky the bullet hit the vertebrae as it stopped it from going into organs and bleeding out. Oddly enough, there wasn't much blood and wound management was very minimal. And yes, he is still my friend. I forgave him, and he definitely has suffered mentally for it, and he doesn't deserve more pain either. Man, you lived my worst nightmare. I literally can't fathom what it must have felt like to not be able to move your legs. Glad you can still walk. It's still my worst nightmare, honestly. I sometimes have nightmares of being paralyzed again, and I always think about how lucky I was to get function back for the most part, as I still can't move my left foot. My GF was shot, not me, but she said it felt hot and like impact but not particularly painful until much later. She was in shock and went to the hospital. After hours she said it started to hurt. This was my response to. It feels incredibly hot. It's like getting hit with a bee that's on fire. It burns like fuck. But then, and only later, does it fucking hurt. The part 2 is that you might think you understand pressure, but get shot. It doesn't just hurt, it mashes into you. A good friend of mine got hit with a ricochet from a 9mm that hit his calf. There was drive-by about a block down. He was outside of the bar smoking a cig when it happened, ran inside and felt his leg burning but decided to keep drinking. He had about 3 more drinks before someone mentioned he was bleeding, went to the ER absolutely hammered and was fine after surgery. Smoking kills. It hurts. Like someone stabbing you with a sword that was heated up. What does it feels to be stabbed by a sword that was heated up? Probably a lot like getting shot. I didn't really feel either of mine until about 10 minutes later. Took a grazing shot off my left arm and one in the right hip that went out my back, thankfully missing my kidney. The arm felt like a bee sting, the hip knocked me back a step, the adrenaline at the time masked the pain. What was the context of the shots? I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment that landed at the airport in Panama. Shot twice. Second one resulted in separation from the army. The first was in my armor piece, no penetration, but it felt like I was kicked by a horse. The second one was into my pelvis, and it's the worst pain I ever felt, and I still engaged in combat for the next 45 minutes before I could safely be moved back. 10/10 shitty. Separation from the army as in that caused your military career to be over. Yes. It's okay. I was going to make it a career. I just had to adjust, life is all. I was shot when I was 9. I didn't feel anything at first because my mind was in fight or flight mode and my only focus was dialing 911 and saving my mother. I only started feeling the immense stinging / burning sensation when I was loaded into the ambulance. I want to say it's as if you had a hot iron shoved through you. Edit, I was shot with a .45 caliber. I survived multiple gunshot wounds. One shattered my elbow, it swung in the wrong direction, and another damaged a nerve, rendering me being unable to move my foot up along with loss of feeling throughout my entire leg. Edit 2, my mother unfortunately passed away at the scene. I'm doing well now, although I still deal with PTSD, it's much less. This was over 11 years ago that we fell victim to a home invasion. The perpetrator was caught and has life in prison, no parole. I had the option to choose the death penalty, however, I felt I would have been cheated if he didn't have to suffer. You were incredibly brave, and I'm glad you survived. Thanks for sharing your experience, and I hope life has been much kinder to you since that day. So sorry about the loss of your mother. No one should lose a family member that way. I'm glad you made it.